UFC Fight Night Vegas 13, Santos versus Teixeira takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, and what an amazing card this is as well, by the way, starting with the early prelim opener of Gustavo Lopez versus Felipe Colares, a great fight to open up the prelims. Two guys basically fighting for their career right now. They started their UFC careers. It has not gone well for them so far. Felipe Colares joined all the way back in 2019 February, lost his fight to Gialdo de Freitas Jr. Not the best loss to have on your resume, but then came back and won a razor-close split decision against Domingo Pilate, which kept him in the UFC. But then, as he tried to get momentum back under control, Montel Jackson beat him by unanimous decision and really did beat the hell out of him in that fight. If you remember, Montel Jackson, I mean, credit to Felipe Colares because he has an iron jaw for sure. But Montel Jackson really beat the paste out of Felipe Colares in that fight. Gustavo Lopez, of course, came into the UFC on short notice, took on Merab Dvalishvili in his debut, which I don't blame him for losing whatsoever. Took the fight on short notice with Merab. Merab just completely ragdolls him over 3 rounds, but Gustavo Lopez kept getting back up, kept staying in there, looked for good shots. He showed good heart to keep trying to get back up, because anyone knows if they lose to Merab in their debut on short notice, they're going to get another chance in the UFC anyway. So to see Gustavo Lopez stay in there, I mean, both of these guys have got heart. You saw that in Colares versus Jackson. You've seen it in Lopez versus Merab Dvalishvili. Lopez keeps getting back up. Colares keeps coming forward regardless of what you hit him with. I believe that Gustavo Lopez is going to get the job done in this fight by unanimous decision. I do believe he will control Felipe Colares on the feet for 3 rounds. Gustavo Lopez, even though we saw him get ragdolled by Merab, that tends to happen with anyone that Merab fights recently, so I don't blame him for that. And Lopez looked good against Joey Ruquet, who was 7-2, and Lopez won that fight in the first round, beat Jose Alde, who was 12-3, won that fight in the first round as well. Like, he's got some good wins on his record. 13-2, Steve Swanson beat him as well. That's a decently good record. Lost a fight to Andre Yule, but then only lost a split decision recently as well to Jose Alde, which then he rematched and finished in the first round. So that kind of hints at a little bit of controversy with that split decision if they immediately rebooked it. And Lopez destroys him in the first round. I like Lopez. He's at a good gym. Extreme Couture and Felipe Colares, I just don't think he's going to get the job done against Lopez. Lopez by decision. Moving on up the card, Max Griffin versus Ramiz Brahimaj. I'm going to be going with Ramiz Brahimaj in this fight. I like his chances against Max Griffin on short notice, and they have him as an underdog. I guarantee you, and this is the same situation with Shavkat Rakhmonov as well. Fair enough. Brahimaj is not undefeated, but he is a savage, and he's lost some fights, yes, in his career. He's only 8-2, but he has won some fights as well. And the way that he does it, he gets straight to work, straight for a finish, no feeling out period whatsoever. He comes out there like a greyhound out the trap, as McGregor would say, and just goes straight for him and gets the submission. He's got guillotine chokes, triangle chokes, arm triangle chokes, rear naked chokes, all in the first round. He's a very fast starter. And Max Griffin is a guy recently who I've basically been waiting to see get KO'd or finished in some way whatsoever, because he starts very slow. He's kind of coming to the end of his career. And also, I want to point this out about Max Griffin as well here. The Oliveira loss doesn't look as good anymore. Even though it was a close fight and everyone thought Oliveira was this savage. Now that Rakhmonov's beaten Oliveira, Griffin's loss to Oliveira does not look so good. Then again, the Alex Morono loss. Morono got KO'd in the first round against Chaos Williams, so that loss looks a little bit worse now as we've gone on in time. Zelim Imadiev, a majority win only because Imadiev was grabbing the cage and they took a point away. Imadiev just got clowned by Mikel Pereira. That win doesn't look as good. Then you look at Thiago Alves by split decision. A loss. Thiago Alves. In 2019, are you kidding me, Max Griffin? I thought Max Griffin won that fight, to be fair, but still, it was close enough. You know what I mean? Curtis Millender just got beat by Sabaho Marci in Bellator. That one doesn't look so good. I just feel like Max Griffin is slowly coming to the end of his career, and I think Ramiz Brahimaj is the perfect kind of Kevin Kroom esque savage to go out there and start fast with no hesitation whatsoever. He's a young guy. He's very confident in himself. I've seen him beat good guys. I've watched a couple of his fights so far. He latches up submissions. I think he's going to go out there, start really fast on the feet against Griffin. Then Griffin's going to shoot a lousy takedown, and Brahimaj is going to latch up the guillotine for a first round submission win, Rakhmonov-Oliveira style. Brahimaj gets this one done. That's my first underdog of the night. Moving on, up the card, Darren Elkins versus Eduardo Gregori. Am I going to go with another underdog? No, this one's complete trash. I'm not going to be picking Luis Eduardo Gregori. I like him, don't get me wrong, but he has not shown up in some of his fights. Lost his fight to Ricardo Ramos, which now looks worse because Ramos went on to lose to Lerone Murphy, but no harm done there. But still, lost his fight to Ramos, got schooled in the first round, and he hasn't really beaten good guys outside of that. He had his UFC debut in Argentina, I believe, which was basically rigged because he was the only Argentinian guy. You know, he was born in Brazil, but I think he reps the Argentinian flag, but still, he was the only guy. They built the event around him. They put him on the main card. This was the Luque, I think this might have been Uruguay, actually. UFC Uruguay, this was. Luque versus Perry card. Shevchenko versus, what was her name? Don't do this to me. Carmouche. That was such a boring fight. I forgot about it. But still, one was on that card against Humberto Bandone. Did not look good. 14-6 guy. You got to make him look a little bit worse than that. And before that, Eduardo Gregori has fought nothing but cans. 0-0, 0-0, 7-2, 8-1. Good wins. 0-0, 6-15. 5-1, 2-3, 0-1. Hide their record from us. Hide their record from us. 0-1. I just haven't seen too many jump up in competitions yet that tell me he's going to be able to get the job done by submission, especially against Darren Elkins, because Elkins' chin, you could say maybe is waiting to get cracked, but Eduardo Gregori goes for submissions a lot of the time, and that's how he gets a lot of his wins, by finish. He does have a win by punches in the first round against a guy making their debut. I don't think that Elkins is on a level of a guy making their debut whatsoever, and Gregori goes for a lot of submissions. Elkins was on the ground with Ryan Hall and looked good that entire fight whilst doing it, staying out of tough submissions, and Ryan Hall's no slouch on the ground. Went 3 rounds with Ricardo Lamas, went 3 rounds with Nate Landwehr, lost in the 3rd round against Lamas, by the way, but still, went to the 3rd round with him. Nate Landwehr had a great fight with him. Some people think Elkins beat Landwehr. I think Landwehr beat Elkins, but still, razor close fight. I thought that was as close of a split decision it could get. It wasn't a unanimous decision to Nate Landwehr because the people were split over who won that fight. Went to a decision with Alexander Volkanovski as well, and that was when Volkanovski was coming forward looking to take your head off. I'm definitely going to go with Darren Elkins against Eduardo Gregori. I don't trust him as an underdog to get this one done. Elkins wins by unanimous decision. Moving on, Marcos Rodrigo de Lima versus Alexander Romanov. Romanov versus de Lima. Great fight. Was supposed to happen not too long ago, but it eventually got pulled off the card because Rodrigo de Lima tested positive because he's Brazilian, of course, for the old Rona syndrome. But still, Alexander Romanov gets in there against Rook Martinez instead, tosses him around and just beats him up like an absolute clown on the ground. However, Marcos Rodrigo de Lima is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who got triangled by Struve. So it doesn't really mean too much, okay? And he lost to Ovin St. Preux by submission, and he lost to Gadzi Hermadantigulov by submission, and he lost to Nikita Krylov by submission. In my opinion, Marcos Rodrigo de Lima is a very good fighter, but, and here's the big but, he is a reject from light heavyweight because he can't beat good guys. So he moved up to heavyweight, packed on a bit of weight. Not good weight, by the way, either. A little bit of chubs on him right now, and he's not the biggest guy for the heavyweight division either. Has got a similar reach to Romanov, I believe exactly the same at 75 inches, but still, KO'd Ben Sassoli in the 1st round. I don't think Romanov's going to be going out there looking to trade on the feet like Ben Sassoli was with the hands. Romanov sticks on the outside, throws body kicks, inside leg kicks, front kicks. He's very technical of a striker, even though it doesn't look like he's going to be when you look at him, because he looks like the kind of guy to just go in there and wing haymakers. He's not that guy. Very technical, moves around on the outside, and I think he's going to get this one done by ground and pound TKO against Rodrigo de Lima. Actually, I'll go with an arm triangle choke again. by Alexander Romanov against Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. I just don't see de Lima being strong enough to stop Romanov ragdolling him on the ground. And even though Marcos Rodrigo de Lima is good on the ground, I just think Romanov's too fast, too powerful. He's going to be much bigger than Marcos Rodrigo de Lima in there. Softens him up with kicks first, then finds his way on the inside on a single leg, turns the corner like he always does in his last fight, throws Rodrigo de Lima to the ground, and just goes for the arm triangle choke in the first. And I think he will get it against Rodrigo de Lima. And that's my prediction for that fight. Romanov gets it done by first round submission. Moving on up the card, we have Trevin Giles versus Bevon Lewis. Another good fight on the card. I can't wait for this one. Hopefully Trevin Giles makes it to the cage instead of fainting beforehand. That would be really good, by the way, Trevin Giles, the problem child. Come on, dude. But Bevon Lewis, on the other side of things, very, very dangerous guy. I am going to be going with Bevon Lewis here. That's actually how you say his name, Bevon. I'm going to be going with Bevon Lewis here, getting the job done against Trevin Giles. I just don't trust Giles to get it done, man. He's made things way too close. You should be beating. If you're the next hyped prospect, like, look, Chimaev is a perfect example here, or Ian Heinisch as well. If you're going to make it in the rankings of the middleweight division, you've got to beat the guys like Gerald Meerschaert. You've just got to beat them, okay? And you can't be losing to them by third round submission. If you're going to be somewhat special in the division, you've got to be beating the Zach Cummingses of the division, okay? And he didn't do that, and he got submitted by guillotine choke in the third round again. I just don't see him winning, because even in his last win against James Krause, that was James Krause on a day's notice, upper weight class, and I thought James Krause won that fight very, very clearly. So I don't know what to do with Trevin Giles right now. I want to root for him. He's had fights booked. He fainted backstage, which is never a good sign in terms of confidence, because all he's going to be thinking about this time on the walkout is how he fainted last time, and hopefully he doesn't faint again, and please just let me get to the octagon so I can do work. It's a lot of pressure on Trevin Giles right now, and plus, I don't think he gets it done against Bevon Lewis, because Bevon Lewis's game is to hold you against the cage. We know the secret by now. There's no secret even. We know the story of Bevon Lewis. He holds you against the cage, throws shots on the inside. He's basically the light heavyweight, or the, sorry, not the light heavyweight, the middleweight Usman. Just pushing you against the cage, little foot stomps, little shots to the body, little shoulder strikes as well. Did it to Darren Stewart reasonably well. That fight could have gone either way with him and Darren Stewart. Did it to Uriah Hall, and also outclassed him on the feet as well, by the way. Very well in the first 2 rounds, but as we've seen recently, a lot of people seem to do that early to Uriah Hall, but then Uriah Hall comes back, catches him on the chin, but he was a young guy. He's learning. He was only 6-0 at the time. Now he's bounced back against Daquan Townsend. Unanimous decision win. Looked good in that fight as well, and I think he's going to be too big and too strong for Trevin Giles in that first round and the second round. Maybe Giles can mount a comeback later on, but as we've seen in his fights, he slows down as the fight goes on, and that's really the only time we've seen people have success against Bevon Lewis, is by being able to survive long enough to then come back. I mean, even Daquan Townsend did okay in the third round against Bevon Lewis, because Lewis can only hold you against the cage for so long while you're wriggling underneath him. But I think Bevon Lewis is going to get the job done against Giles by unanimous decision win, 29-28. I could see Giles winning the third round, but Bevon Lewis, massive reach advantage, I believe. Let me check. 79 inches to 74. Then you've got the height advantage for Bevon Lewis as well, 6'3" to 6 foot tall. He's just going to be too big. Bevon Lewis gets it done by unanimous decision, 29-28. Moving on up the card to one more fight on the prelims. Giga Chikadze versus Jamie Simmons. Oh, have I got a bone to pick with you, Giga the Can Man Chikadze? You beat Laureano Strapoli, and I'm very appreciative that you took that jump up, and I thought it was a spectacular performance, but come on, man. You're going to give him Jamie Simmons. This is just a gimme. Jamie Simmons is a good fighter, I'm sure, and he has got quick finishes, and he starts very fast. But to say that he's going to go out there and do anything on the feet to Giga Chikadze when he's 6-2, lost to a guy by KO who was 6-0, lost to a guy by guillotine in the first round who was 0-0 making their debut. I just don't like this. I don't like the matchup. I think Giga Chikadze's going to go out there, be too quick on the feet for him in the first round. We've seen that Giga Chikadze has built himself into the weight class. He seemed a little bit bigger last time, and he cracked a bit more power as well. Giga Chikadze really coming into his own, had his best performance last time against Laureano Strapoli. I think he will get the job done against Jamie Simmons. Chikadze's taken on long-rangey guys and guys that start fast in Jamal Emmers and Erwin Rivera, who get right in your face. He's shown that he's been able to keep them away from him, and I don't see Jamie Simmons this bum, going in there and chinning Giga Chikadze. I just don't. I think Giga Chikadze's going to get a free win because that's exactly what they've done for him on this card. I'm glad that they've done it, though, because this card is finished with a nice little Giga Chikadze headlining the prelims. I'll go with Giga Chikadze by... I'll go with him by TKO. And if he doesn't finish this one... Really? Come on, he's been given so many chances to get highlight reels. I like the way he fights, but he needs to make Jamie Simmons look like a bum because he didn't do that to Erwin Rivera and he didn't do that to Jamal Emmers. I'm going to go with Giga Chikadze, getting a TKO finish, making a statement against a guy in Jamie Simmons who's there to be made a statement of. Moving on to the main card. Oh, what a main card. Claudia Gadelha versus Yan Xiaonan. Not the best fight on the main card, but still a good fight on the main card. Gadelha looking good recently in her career, but however, you can look at that a couple of ways because Claudia Gadelha in her last fight, I thought she lost it very, very clearly to Angela Hill. Lost the last 2 rounds. I don't see how they gave it to Claudia Gadelha. And even against Randa Marcos, that was a good fight. Gadelha won the fight, don't get me wrong. Marcos looked okay on the feet. Then you've got Nina Ansaroff. She lost. Carla Esplaza, she won a split decision. That could go either way as well. There's just a little bit of too close of fights of Claudia Gadelha recently for me to pick her against a streaking contender in Yan Xiaonan. Dangerous Chinese fighter on the rise. Both of them have got equal reach, by the way, but Yan Xiaonan fights at way longer range than Claudia Gadelha does. Gadelha is a little bit more hook heavy, and Yan Xiaonan likes to use her straight. So even though they have the same reach, they fight at completely different ranges. I'm going to be going with Yan Xiaonan, picking apart Gadelha from range because she did it to Angela Hill and picked up the pace in the 2nd and 3rd round. Yan Xiaonan is a girl that really does put it on in the 3rd round and has great stats of great output numbers. I believe she has like a 6 strike per minute output rate, significant strike per minute. It's a very crazy rate that she has in that strawweight division, as we've seen with Claudia Gadelha before. She does slow down as the fight goes on. She slowed down against Angela Hill, and Angela Hill slowed down against Yan Xiaonan. And Yan Xiaonan was the one putting on the pressure in those later rounds. I don't see Gadelha finishing Yan Xiaonan. And I see Yan Xiaonan maybe losing the first round 10-9. Coming back in the last 2 rounds to win herself the fight by unanimous decision. 29-28. Rallying late in the fight to get the win against Claudia Gadelha. But a good fight. And the winner of this one, listen. I don't know what the winner of this one's going to get. Because the female strawweight division right now is on hold. We need to know what's going on. Weili Zhang, are you fighting Rose Namajunas next? I think you are. Let's sign it up. Or at least know when it's going to happen, please, Dana White, or whoever's making these fights. Come on, Claudia Gadelha needs someone to jump into next if she does win this. But then you've got Joanna Jacek. Is she retired? Haha, no, she isn't really. Okay, but can we match her against Suarez? Oh, wait, Tatiana Suarez is out of the strawweight rankings. What's going on? Is Nina Ansaroff going to have another baby or what? What are we doing? We're going to remove her from the rankings? We need to know. But yes, Yan Xiaonan will win this fight by unanimous decision. 29-28. Moving on up the card. Ian Heinisch versus Brendan Allen. Now, it hurts me to do this. Okay? Because I am a huge, and I mean huge, Brendan Allen fan. But I'm going to be going with Ian Heinisch to get the job done against Brendan Allen. I don't know what the odds are. I'll check them right now. I believe that Ian Heinisch is evens. He might end up an underdog because Brendan Allen has just moved to a slight favourite. I feel as though Ian Heinisch is going to get the job done against Brendan Allen because although Brendan Allen has looked successful and has had a massive win streak, and on paper, he has done it against good competition. 9-0 Kyle Dalkaus, 11-1 Tom Breeze, 16-4 Kevin Holland, Aaron Jeffries, 6-1, Moses Mojita, 8-1, Tim Hiley, 7-0. He's won a lot of fights. The fights themselves have been close at times, okay? I know the Tom Breeze one was absolute decimation, but the Kyle Dalkaus one, I said this before. I said if Kyle Dalkaus, in my prediction video for Allen versus Dalkaus, I said if Kyle Dalkaus had a full camp, he would win this fight. And he would have done if you do look at that fight legitly. If Kyle Dalkaus had a little bit more energy in that 3rd round, he would have outworked Brendan Allen and got himself the victory. I'm a big fan of Brendan Allen. He's the only guy to call out Khamzat Chimaev that Chimaev had wanted nothing to do with. But I do believe that Ian Heinisch has proved himself against better competition than Brendan Allen has in guys in Antonio Carlos Jr. in 2019. Not right now, Antonio Carlos Jr. Carlos Jr. is still a savage. Cesar Ferreira in 2018 was a good fighter, and Ian Heinisch got the job done against him by unanimous decision. And you've got other guys. Justin Sumter, Gabriel Checo, 10-2, 6-1, good opponents. Beat Gerald Meerschaert by a first round KO. And even in the Omari Akhmedov fight, showed that he can hang with that level of competition. The same thing with Derek Brunson. We saw how Edmund Shabazian failed horribly against Derek Brunson. At least Ian Heinisch didn't have that bad of a performance. He came out, looked very switched on early against Gerald Meerschaert. And Brendan Allen was losing to Kevin Holland quite badly, and then managed to get out of it and earn himself a rear naked choke. But that was really Kevin Holland messing up his own success rather than Brendan Allen getting the job done. Holland sliced him up with elbows, landed big shots of ground and pound, got out of every submission position, almost had Brendan Allen in a rear naked choke in that fight as well, then lost position, got a takedown in the second round, got reversed, and Allen eventually got the rear naked choke. I just don't see Heinisch getting controlled on the ground, and it seems to be the best route to success for Brendan Allen is to get someone to the ground when the stand-up isn't working out too well. And listen, they're both big guys. Brendan Allen is much bigger than him. I just think that Ian Heinisch, shorter guy, wing and hooks to close range. He closes the distance very well. I think he will catch Brendan Allen on the chin and win this fight 29-28 in a very close fight of the night, performance worthy Allen versus Heinisch matchup. I think that Heinisch will barely eke himself a win. Might get a 10-8 in the first round by landing a big shot, but Allen will come back. I just think Heinisch has what it takes to earn himself a decision in a very close fight. I'm not going to pick Brendan Allen because I've just watched his fights again, and although there's a legend and a myth of Brendan Allen, that he's this savage, they're sometimes close a lot of the time, and there's a lot of losing moments for him, and he has lost a lot of fights in his career against Eric Anders by unanimous decision, and Anthony Hernandez, who got destroyed by Kevin Holland in the first round by unanimous decision, and Trevin Giles by a rear naked choke in the second round. And I know that he's won a lot of good fights recently, and he looks unbeatable, but the Dalkaus win really annoyed me. So I'm going to go with Ian Heinisch getting the job done 29-28 or 29-27 in a very close decision. Moving on up the card, Raoni Barcelos versus Khalid Taha. Great fights, man. This card is raunchy. What a good card. I'm definitely going to go with Raoni Barcelos. I think he will go out there and out-grapple Khalid Taha. We've seen Khalid Taha in his career before. Had good success against green guys that come in on the feet and want to try and strike with him. He's got good stand up, great power in his hands, has some quick finishes in his career, beat Boston Salmon by first round TKO, but Randy Costa did that as well, and so did some random guy over in another promotion. Even though it was an illegal strike, it was still a first round KO. And then we saw against Nad Narimani with Khalid Taha, got taken down, got smushed a little bit in that fight, and the takedowns were the difference. And we've seen guys like Nad Narimani get completely ground out on the ground by Grant Dawson. So we know that Dawson is a level above Narimani, and Narimani's a level above Khalid Taha, but Khalid Taha is a bantamweight. Narimani was a featherweight at the time, but still, I am going to be going with Raoni Barcelos getting the job done by unanimous decision with the takedowns. His grappling is so underrated in this division. He's beat great guys, including, by the way, Saeed Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision. Even though that was a close fight, and a razor close fight, Raoni Barcelos did enough in that fight by getting himself the takedowns. He's shown nothing but a great chin his entire career, has not been rocked as far as I remember in his entire career, has never been finished by strikes, that's for sure. Only loss was a rear naked choke in the second round. These things happen in MMA. I'm going to go with Raoni Barcelos getting a job done. He was supposed to fight Cody Stamann in March. He's tried to book fights this year, but hasn't been able to get many of them. Now he's got a chance to step in against Khalid Taha. I think the odds are going to be closer than they should be, because if this fight gets booked with both of them with 8 weeks notice, I think Raoni Barcelos is a huge favourite. I haven't seen the odds yet, but I would assume that they're not that far apart, and that's good odds on Raoni Barcelos. I think he gets the job done. Tough chin, scrapper, big guy for the bantamweight division, grinding grappling game. I think he takes down Khalid Taha in the first round, gets him to the second, and then starts to piece him up on the feet and earns himself maybe a third round stoppage against Khalid Taha, who slows down a little bit as the rounds go on at times. I'll go with Raoni Barcelos by third round finish or unanimous decision win. Moving on, Andre Arlovski versus Tanner Boser. This is my lock, man. This is where I think I know exactly what happens, and I might bite myself in the arse by saying this right now and really jinx myself. I'm going to go with Tanner Boser against Andre Arlovski. I'm picking him, and I know that's not a shocking thing, by the way, but I'm just so confident in it because Tanner Boser, if I saw a guy who just blitzed forward and landed big haymakers, I worry about those guys against Arlovski. We've seen that the difference is between guys that get to beat Arlovski and guys that don't is the technical advantage of the guy that gets past Arlovski. If you look at the people that have beaten Arlovski in his career, Felipe Lins was a little bit of a bulldozer and Arlovski got the job done against him, okay? A little bit strong-headed. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, very technical striker, doesn't put too much into his punches, waits for his opportunity. Gets the finish against Andrei Arlovski. Ben Rothwell comes forward, looks for big shots. Doesn't get it done against Andrei Arlovski. Augusto Sakai doesn't get the finish against Arlovski, and I thought Arlovski won. Sakai is a guy who comes forward and looks for big shots in the heavyweight division. Same thing with Walt Harris. Comes forward early, looks for big shots. Didn't get it done. Shamil beat Andrei Arlovski, though. That was a good performance. But Taito Ivasa comes forward, tries to land big shots. I thought Arlovski could have won that Tuivasa fight. That was razor close, could go either way. Could not KO Arlovski. Stefan Struve, Arlovski beats him. Albini, Arlovski beats him. I just believe that Tanner Boser has the technical difference that a guy like Tuivasa at the time did not have, and Augusto Sakai doesn't really have. He has the patience at heavyweight. He's been very active recently. He's fought 2 times in the quarantine era, once in June against Felipe Lins, destroyed him in the first round. Amazing performance. But not just destroyed him in the first round out of nowhere, picked him apart before then, okay? Then came back in July and beat Rafael Pessoa by picking him apart, taking his time, working his way inwards, tapping at the legs a little bit, and then looking for his big opening, and then he got the job done. I think the patience of Tanner Boser will benefit him massively here, and so will the speed advantage, because listen, I don't mind Arlovski's chances against big, strong power punches anymore because he knows the shots are coming and he can brace for them and he can sting them back and make them second-guess themselves unless they want to use up all of their cardio. Tanner Boser has got good cardio. We saw him go hard for 3 rounds of Cyril Gane chasing him around trying to get the job done, but Gane is just basically a ballet dancer in the heavyweight division when you really think about his style. But Tanner Boser, very technical. I think he chops at the legs of Arlovski early, stings him with some shots to the body, and then comes upstairs with a big hook over the top, getting himself the TKO finish at the end of the first round. Tanner Boser, the bulldozer, gets it done. Moving on up the card, Santos versus Teixeira. Battle of the pensioners, eh? 41-year-old Glover Teixeira is fighting in a potential title elimination bout, which is looking kind of bad right now because Adesanya's now stepped in and wants to fight Jan Blachowicz, so this won't be for the title, but still, I'll be breaking down a lot of these fights on the main card as well, by the way, in more detail on my channel in the days to come. But Santos versus Teixeira, I am going to go with Thiago Santos over Glover Teixeira, and I know that there might be one last run in Teixeira, and I know that resurrection season may be upon us. I just think Santos gets it done. He's too dangerous in the first round, and Teixeira takes a lot of shots in that first round. Against a guy like Anthony Smith, you can afford to take those shots. Against a guy like Thiago Santos, you can't afford to take those shots. You're talking about a guy in Santos who in the first round of his fight with Jan Blachowicz at UFC Prague dominated the first round, landed big shot after big shot, and looked amazing in the first round. Had a little bit of a rough second and third, made it a little bit closer. Then Santos charges forward. Then Blachowicz charges forward, and Santos catches him with a counter check hook, fade away KO win. I just think Santos has shown great cardio in his career, can still push the pace in the later rounds. If this was a guy in Santos who was known to gas out immediately after the first, I might pick Teixeira because he does tend to wear on people. But with Santos, I think we're looking at a different bracket of light heavyweight compared to these other guys like Anthony Smith, proven by the fact that Santos beat Anthony Smith by body shot TKO all those years ago. But still, Santos beat Jan Blachowicz. Hard to deny him in that first round. I just think with Santos's first round damage and Teixeira's habit in the first round to get cracked by everyone, pretty much. Ion Cutelaba almost finished him in the first round with a spinning back fist to a combination. Anthony Smith was tuning up Teixeira in the first round of their fight as well. I'm going to go, even Carl Roberson was beating up Glover Teixeira in the first round of their fight. I'm going to go with Santos. Not just beating up Teixeira in the first round, but being the power difference necessary to switch out the lights on Teixeira, because you can't take that beating against Smith the same way you can take it against Santos. I'm going to go with Santos by first round, TKO win. And I wish it was for a title shot against Blachowicz so he could run back that rematch and generate some hype before Adesanya steps in and fights at light heavyweight, but we won't have that opportunity. And we'll probably see Santos versus the winner of Reyes versus Jiri Prochaska, who he recently signed to fight against for the title shot eventually. But we don't even know if that will happen, because who knows if Adesanya wins, if he'll want to move up to heavyweight and hold up the division even more. It's just a tough situation to be a light heavyweight. And this main event just lost a little bit of buzz in terms of what it means to win. Thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe. I went with Santos there in the main event. Hopefully you guys agree with my predictions. Let me know in the comment section below. Click that button up there. Last week was an undefeated card because Bobby Green beats Thiago Moises. I don't care what you say. The week before that, we ran through the fucking roster. And we won all of them nearly, other than a couple of them. And there were some bad decisions there as well that ruined my parlays. Week before that, we did well. Let's keep this streak going. Okay? I think I've done a good job picking out some underdogs. Hopefully we don't go on a massive, terrible spree. We've been doing very well. I'm looking to make some thousands here with my money, because there's some good underdogs. And my best underdogs on the card, in my opinion, just to round this one up, are Ian Heinisch, who's a slight underdog right now. Who else is a good underdog? Ramiz Brahimaj, I believe, is going to be a good fighter to get the job done here. Gustavo Lopez is not too big of a favourite, but I think he should be a big favourite against Colares. And maybe Bavon Lewis against Trevin Giles, but those are some close odds as well. Those are the better ones on the cards if you want to make some money, but there are some good favourites in Romanov, in Santos, in Tanner Boser, I'm sure, and in Yan Xiaonan, who I think is a safe favourite. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Click that button up there, and goodbye, like and subscribe. This is a great card, so I'm really looking forward to it. See you later.